For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. We really need to come up with a new intro. How long have I been doing this show? 6 years, 7 years? The same goddamn intro every time. Not even funny anymore. But if this is your first time listening to the show, maybe you enjoyed it. Nevertheless, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your attention today. I'm already having a stroke as we start the show. It's Friday. I was about to say it's Monday. Wow. Off to a flying start. Here's the deal. I have been off for most of the week. And it's been rainy and gloomy as hell. How do you like to spend rainy days? And, I'm living in a place where we haven't had rain, and this is not a joke. Since the summer, what is it now, October 15th? Since the summer began, back in, June, I could probably count on one hand the number of rainy days that we had in my city. It's just been crazy. The grass didn't grow. Normally I pay somebody to do my yard work and things like that. But I think I did it this year, or my husband did it this year, maybe 3 or 4 times. That's like, we're not living in California right now. When we were in California, you didn't even care about the grass didn't grow. But yeah, so for the past week, probably about the last 3 days, because this was Thanksgiving week on Monday, right? It's rained. It was a nice day on the holiday, so you're always, I guess you're thankful for that, for Thanksgiving. Nice weather on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has just been shit weather, like cold and rainy and gross. So for me, I've been off, aside from having to do our entertainment headline show, entertainmentwrapup.com, but I haven't had any work to do. So for me, this has been great because I'm just laying around in a bathrobe. Wednesday night, we ordered a roast chicken. Wait a second, we got her back up here. So Tuesday we did the spa. So we were lounging around in bathrobes and everything at the spa, and it was kind of gloomy and gray outside. It was a Nordic spa, so you've got all these outdoor, different places. And then Wednesday evening, we ordered a roast chicken, and again, had it delivered. So ordered a bunch of food, had it sent over, lounged around, watched TV, napped. Thursday was kind of the same thing. I had probably about a 3-hour bath and just did some email in the bathtub and things like that, and napped from about, I think it was like 6 until 9 o'clock in the evening. And it throws off your system. This is what I found, because now you've just had that, especially it was later in the evening, then I'm wide awake at midnight. So that really messes you up. Because, your brain is saying, it's time for bed, but your body's like, I'm wide awake, I just rested, why do I? So that's the kind of week this was. And so for me, tripping over my first 30 seconds of the introduction there you go. Now I've just explained that. Now, coming up on the show this week, we're going to talk dating apps, and I'm always fascinated talking about relationships with people, and I really was, even back in my 20s. Now, I was chronically single for all of my 20s, now that I think about it. I was a bit of a loner. And everybody always came to me for the relationship advice. I was always the go-to person of like, oh, well, we had a fight, or oh, this happened, this, that. For some reason, the kid who was never in a relationship ever always was the sounding board for people. And I really enjoyed that. And so now there's this whole world of dating apps and websites, and I can't even tell you how many people will like message on Facebook, hi, some random person, hi, how are you? Are you single or whatever? And then when I actually go and scroll through people's pages, it's weird to see how many people go and say like proud wife or proud husband of such and such, and then like tag it's just, I don't know if it's bragging or what it is. I've said this before, I have a very, very hot Brazilian husband who's a ripped muscle man with tattoos, tan skin, gorgeous. And I think on my Instagram, there's maybe no more than 10 pictures of us together, just because that was something that I said at the very beginning, that, it's our life separate from all this other crap. I mean, yes, I've got to put on this persona as a radio host, a newspaper columnist, an author, and whatever. But my personal life, I don't give two shits about what people... So anyway, so this whole thing about dating and people's relationships just being front and center, it's wild to me. So I've got some thoughts on how... I was sitting with my cousin the other day he's on a dating app, and he's chronically single, but forever going on dates. I don't know if it's something about him or if it's the quality of person he's meeting. Nevertheless, he seems to enjoy meeting the ladies, and so who better than a gay cousin to sit and give him some relationship advice? That's coming up in just a moment. Now, also, too, on the show this week, when you went to school, there were probably so many things that you thought were fascinating when you were learning them, and it was always beat into your head that you're going to need that when you leave school. You're going to need to know this. This is really important stuff. This is... Fast forward after you've graduated, 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. How much of that stuff have you actually used today? Maybe we can blame technology and the internet for us not having to know math or anything like that. But at the end of the day, how much of that learning? Think about your elementary or your junior high English lessons in poetry and stuff like that. You learned what words rhyme, okay? And then all the math, or just history. I mean, yes, history is important, that you need to remember kind of where you came from and how the world came to be what it is, or your city or your country or whatever. But how much of it have you retained? So maybe this is almost a discussion taking off in two ways. Is that, did you learn some useless stuff in school? And two, how much did you just forget and you're okay with forgetting it? So those two. I already went on the rant about weather. So those 2 points are coming up this week on the Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. I should tell you, I'm a proud high school graduate, 20 years ago. And my mom being a teacher, she just retired, though, at the end of the last school year. It prompted a discussion that I had with her recently about how much we actually learn in school and what carries over into your adult life. So let me tell you what I mean here. Most of the math stuff that we learned, trigonometry comes to mind, all this. Have I ever used it? Now, here's the thing. Maybe in a roundabout way, in some fashion or form, I've used trigonometry in my day-to-day life. But here's the deal. Just like you don't think that you think about science every day, but you do when you breathe or when like you're still living science. But trigonometry, yes, I've probably encountered a scenario, and math nerds will correct me on this one, but I've probably encountered a time where it's like, yeah, you didn't realize it, but that's trigonometry. What I mean is sitting down with, pencil and paper and sketching it out and trying to figure out math equations. That's what I'm talking about. So ditto for language arts, it was called, or English. I'm a best-selling author. I've written a few books. I write every day. I've been writing a newspaper column. I do all these things. But when it comes to poetry, okay, yes, loosely you could say that rhyming, maybe I've made jokes with rhymes before, but in terms of poetry, have I ever used poetry in my life? Yeah, again, maybe aside from sending a joke to somebody, writing in a card or like a joke email kind of a thing, or Shakespeare. Have I ever, and even when I was in school, in 20-some years, because I'm talking about graduating high school, we were learning Shakespeare even in junior high. Have I ever, maybe it would get me through in a trivia game show on, The Weakest Link or something, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it would come in handy. But have I ever used Shakespeare? Ever. And then it just makes you think, because then when I see, social media is the greatest place to see people use proper English grammar, spelling, sentence structure, punctuation, capitalization, all that stuff. When I look at that and go, people still don't give a damn about the language, or they just don't get it. They just don't care. So it makes me... Now, this is the thing. Here's my argument, is that I feel like there should be more focus on English and sentence structure and things like that. But in the way the world goes now, well, people aren't going to use it anyway. No different than when I was teaching. My husband knew English before speaking it full time, basically, and he learned from a book. And the words in the book are teaching you to... I guess, well, I mean, they're teaching you the language. I was going to say they're teaching you to speak it differently, but again, in a book, it's more about just learning the words at face value, and then how you use them in sentences or speaking or writing or whatever is different. But anyway, point is that he was using correct English, and then he would say something to me, and I would start to laugh, and he's like, "Isn't that right?" Or sorry, he would say, "Isn't that correct?" And I would say, "Okay, that's a prime example right there." We have so many different words for things. Right, correct, dinner, supper, cupboard, cabinet. And so he would say something the correct, grammatically correct, proper English way. And I finally was saying to him, don't say it like that. Don't no. People are going to look at you like it's, like you're an idiot. Yes, you're saying it the correct way. Absolutely, you are 100% correct. But don't say it that way. So anyway, that's the point. Anyway, so point is that there was so much stuff that we learned in school that I would never, ever, ever use again. Now, obviously, curriculums change, right? Things evolve. We barely had computers when I was in high school, so there's a bit more learning with technology and things. I appreciate that. But certainly when it comes to the base, do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you envision a classroom back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you've got, the map on the wall and the history book, and you're learning about this and that, that's great. I'm not saying that we should forget about history. Though, when you look at the protests and things, some of the things you almost do want to sort of forget they happened. But absolutely, we need to recognize what has shaped our society to be what it is. I get that, and I appreciate that. So, but what do you remember from your school days? Now, I'm one of those people... I have all of my work from every grade in school. Yes, even from nursery school. The little books that I made, the little coloring book, like everything. When I was learning to print, when I was learning to do my cursive writing, I have every piece of paper from my scribblers, my binders, my duotangs, everything, I have it all. Even from college, I have it all in a filing cabinet. And I'm tempted, after that discussion with my mom, I'm tempted now to go through, not every one, there's a lot of paper there, tempted to go through and go, never used it, was good to know at the time. We had to learn the state capitals. I grew up in Canada. I had to learn the United States capitals. And again, I can appreciate that it's necessary or relevant, but we didn't have the internet then. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't learn because there's the internet. I'm sure people will take that the wrong way. But, I was doing a research paper. I went to Faraday School, Michael Faraday, right, the famous, anyway. And I remember thinking, I'm doing a really, really good research paper. And we went to the library, and this is where you had encyclopedias. Do you remember that? Those were almost like, I don't want to compare them to Bibles in a religious sense, but do you know what I mean? Was that that encyclopedia section was almost like, like it was something... like that you're going to the encyclopedias. That is the smart book. That is the, and I remember, and I sat, we did have a computer in the library of my elementary school. I remember that, but it was really just to search books. I remember sitting at that desk, basically writing out word for word paragraphs from the encyclopedia about Michael Faraday or whatever relevant information I was including in my report. Now, in hindsight, you look at that and say, well, you just plagiarized. Yeah, but that, again, you're in grade 6. You don't know what the deal is. But I just thought I'm putting together my report. I didn't know that you had to make the words your own or anything. I'm just saying that I read it and then I just copied it word for word and compiled it all to make a research paper, which I think was great. I was resourceful. I did research. I included a bunch of different things. But that stuck with me. Those hands-on sort of lessons that they talk about, you can learn in the streets or you can learn from a book. There were just so many more things that I just learned growing up. When I was in high school, I was doing job placements. I wasn't in class. I was actually out of class more than I was in class because I was doing job placements with the Winnipeg Police Service and the CBC. That's Canada's big national public broadcaster. So I was growing up. I was basically working when I was how old was I? So in high school, I was 15, 16, and 17, I think. I graduated when I was 17 because I turned 18 in that August. So anyway, point is that, when I was able to just go out into the workforce and learn about writing and learn about broadcast and how to put together a news story, I mean, that's also what my interest was. But, when it comes to science, and I had no interest in that. I also was scared. I didn't want to dissect a frog. I didn't want it, because again, what is that, what is that teaching me? Unless I'm becoming a veterinarian or something like that, I mean, I can learn out of a book about the human body. I have similar parts to it. We all have similar parts to a frog or toad or whatever it is, but I don't need to open one up to get it, right? So it's interesting how I can look back at it now, and everybody always says that, education is priceless. Education is so important. I guess if you're learning things that are relevant or going to help you or anything like that, but education for the sake of education, I don't know. I worked with a woman who said that one time, where she was taking psychology and then she ended up working in retail and whatever, and I kind of said, don't you feel like that was sort of a waste of time? Education is never a waste of time. Well, yes, true that psychology and working in retail, you can learn how to maybe get into the mind of customers or where people are coming from or why they say this, or yeah, I get that. But you'd think that somebody takes psychology maybe to kind of head into a career in that realm, But I'm not judging, smart woman. But, so I kind of look at that and go, if I assess and look back at the things that I learned or didn't learn or wanted to learn or anything, I was an English nerd. I wanted to learn about the language and how to use it and read more regular books and not spend so much time on poetry and Shakespeare. Yes, if this was 18 something or, a different time, poetry would come, yes, if we were in a world war and I was having to write, love poems to somebody overseas or something, okay, great, poetry comes in handy, but, and I realize that that's also sort of taking a shot at the art form, but I think if you've got a passion or an interest in it, then you would pursue it. You continue on with it. No different. I mean, I love writing, but there's people who, can't stand it and don't understand or don't have an appreciation for word formation and sentence structure and things like that. I get it. I was there. Even when I was taking it in school, I was thinking I hate composition and grammar class. I just didn't like it. Now, after I've done it though, practically, it's a different ball game when you're sitting in a classroom. And we had this British instructor with his little tweed coat and elbow patches and shit like that. Yes, I'm bored out of my face. How do you not feel like this guy is condescending and like he's upper crust and you're just, crumbs? Like it. All right, I think we're enough of this segment, are we? Anyway, just tell me what you think. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. I'm fascinated with dating apps. This whole concept is new to me. So, full disclosure, and I've talked about this on the show, I'm married. So, for me, I haven't been on apps like that before. But my cousin, and I'm not going to name him, but my 20-some-year-old cousin is on dating apps, and I don't like the girls, so I have a successful relationship, and who better to tell a straight guy how to interact with girls than a gay guy? And so I was talking with my cousin. We got together not too long ago, And he was totally obsessed with his phone, right? As all 20-somethings are. You know, I wrote that book called Put Down Your Damn Phone Already. And so I was like, what do you do? Show me your phone. Show me your phone. And ever since he was a teenager, I've always had a very open relationship with him in the sense that, you know, he would show me what he's texting back and forth with girls or whatever, or I would tell him something clever or charming to write back, you know, that would work. And so I've always been kept in the loop of his relationships or lack thereof. And so he was constantly on his phone. I'm like, what are you looking at? And I don't even remember the name of the app. I don't remember the name. Anyway, bottom line is that he was showing me all of these people that he matched with. Tinder, is that what it was called? Tinder. All right. Thank you, guys. Now, somebody tell me, how long has Tinder been around? And I don't... Again, like I said, I've been spoken for. And truthfully, if I even were to ask my brothers who have been married for 10, 15 years, they probably couldn't name the apps. Although, maybe I could call one of them right now and ask them. I'll put them on the spot. You know what? My brother's a teacher at a high school, so he probably has some students that are on dating apps as it is. Nevertheless, anyway, point is that I find these things fascinating because you have just a split second to put your best foot forward, right? Or your best picture. Really, that's what it is. What it is that you're looking at somebody for a few seconds at the picture, and then you're pressing yes or no, or you're swiping, whatever the term is for your app. And to me, that's so bizarre. Like, it's so strange that you don't even really, you don't even give the person an opportunity to tell you about themselves or anything like that. It's just kind of like ugly, 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 haughty, ugly, 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 passable if I'm drunk. That's honestly what he was doing. And so when I was sitting with my cousin, he's showing me how it works. You can rapid fire through 50 people in about a minute. And that's what's sad to me, is that that's how we view people. Now, I get that you're on this app because you want to have that instant connection. You're there. You know, you're not on there to make friends, right? You're on there. It's either yes or no. Are we going to hit it off or not? If not, don't waste my time, whatever. I can appreciate that. I guess I'm always the person who has looked at it and go, hey, if it's another really good friend in my life, why not? You know, and again, I guess growing up, I was kind of, when I was, you know, desperately wanting people's attention to either be friends or in a relationship, I was always the one who was discarded. So when my friends would get into a relationship, they forgot about me, and I was kind of always just left on my own, right? And so meanwhile, here I am, the one who's there for you, who, when you go through the breakup, who are you calling at 3 a.m? You're calling JB. And I was always there. I was just that kind of a friend. Then when I had my own self-confidence and self-worth, the tables very quickly turned, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to make it easy for you now. Sorry. If I need you, then yes, you answer. Like, it's time. And I did have pretty much a verbal brawl with a friend one time who lives across the country. And again, I'd been there through, I can't even tell you how many of his relationships. We've known each other for, close to 20 years. So almost all of his relationships as an adult. So let's say that it's 5. I don't remember the number. But I was always there. And so finally, we just had this falling out where he randomly called me, and I was pissed because I had this brewing for a really long time, and then I just let loose, and wouldn't you know it, he had this realization, his come to Jesus moment, where he was like, wow, I've really been a shitty friend, and I'm sorry. And then he ended up flying across the country to come and, hang out with me for a few days. So that was, it was a nice way to get things settled. Anyway, back to the dating app. I'm not quite sure how I got so sidetracked on it. But I'm fascinated with dating apps because, again, you see a person and you make this judgment. You might scroll down or however you view more pictures. So maybe you give them 3 pictures. But as we were looking at some of these things, I wanted to flip into, okay, I'm a single, I'm on this app, and I'm pretending I like girls. What do I want to know? What do I want to see? And there were some of them where the main picture, like not your display picture, but like your, that first one that comes up, your main picture when somebody brings up your page, is generally kind of like the hottest one, at least with the girls that were matching for my cousin. It was the hottest people, and you're kind of like, wow. And then as you scroll, by picture 3, 4, 5, there were a couple times, and again, like I said, I sort of gave in to this weird superficial attitude. By picture like 4 or 5, even I was kind of like, ooh, yeah, no. Because it's almost, I don't want to say it's misleading. And it's a fair representation of the person. If they're showing you glam in the first shot, casual in the next one, formal in the next one, goofy in the next one. Okay, fine. Like, you're getting a view of all sorts of their different personality, like the sides of their humor or their sense of humor. But there were the people who would do, like, their first main picture would be like cross-eyed, right face to the camera. And I'm just like, see, we don't know your personality yet. And so that's where it loses me, because it comes across as odd. If I know you, I'm going to make up a name. If I know you, John or Jeff or Mary or whoever, then I get it. Like, it's a cute picture because I know you, and if I see it on Facebook, sure. But a stranger seeing this on an app, yeah, they might go and say, hey, he looks or she looks like fun. But I think generally most people would be like, weirdo, no thanks. Because again, you're making that snap judgment of people very, very quickly on this app. The other thing that I noticed was that, and again, I'm going to say females, I'll say girls because that's the term that people use, but women, was that they post a lot of pictures of themselves with a group of girlfriends or with a friend or a sister or something like that, or a nephew or a kid or whatever it is. And to me, I found that to be distracting. Because when the first picture comes up and I see 4 of you, not because I'm drinking, but there's 4 people in the picture, I don't know how to take that. Because right away I could go and say, oh my God, she's hot. Remember, gay, I'm just doing this as a hypothetical. Oh my God, she's hot. And it's the person, let's say, on the far left. And then as I scroll, the next picture is a group of 3 people. And I'm like, okay, so now we're narrowing it down. I'm still trying to guess who this page belongs to. So, okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, now it's 2 people. All right, good. So I've got a 50-50 shot of thinking the hot one is the one whose page this is. And then I got mad because it's not that one. So again, I'm not on the prowl for a girl, but what I'm saying is I'm looking at that going, like, I don't even know who you are in this thing. So I had some pet peeves just after scrolling this for maybe 5 minutes with my cousin. So deceiving me by having group pictures all the time, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Okay, sure, you look like a fun person, but I'm not here to meet your friends and get to know your friends. I'm here to get to know you and see what happens here. And the second is posting like the stupid, like the silly, goofy, again, they're inside jokes to you or they're funny to you. Us outsiders don't really know your personality, and I don't know it's really funny until we do get to know your sense of humor. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and the pet pictures. That just seems to be like this selling feature where it's like, I'm going to be cuddling with a little puppy, or I'm going to be... How do I know that that's your dog? Because I know some people, I'm not going to name names, but I do know somebody who might work on my staff, who loves taking pictures with random people's dogs. And so... And I've seen, now this is the interesting thing, is that she posts some of these pictures on Facebook, and almost every time people ask, oh my God, did you get a dog? So either you're trying to show that you're an animal lover, or you're trying to deceive us by, like, I don't know, it just seemed weird to me. So here we are. I know that you didn't ask for my recommendations or my opinions on what you should put with your dating profile, but here's my suggestion, is don't look like an idiot in your dating profile.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back at the microphone. There was just some discussion about how I ended that last segment. My final sentence being, don't look like an idiot in your dating profile. But I mean, how is that not decent advice? I mean, that's just kind of what it is. I just think that there's this I mean, I don't know. Whatever. If you don't like it, piss off. All right, so feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. This is what I love about a podcast, right? On the radio, I could never say that. You know, we had people emailing into the radio shows all the time when I was hosting on, you know, syndicated radio for 15 years. You had people who would disagree with you and like tell you off in email, and rule of thumb was you just never responded, right? And now with the podcast, I can just be like, well, fuck off, I don't care, just get lost. It's just, and yeah, I enjoy that part of it. So I'm not one of those people who's going out and picking fights on Twitter. I've had a few of those people this week who, you know, will just, I'll have a comment and then they'll just, you know, troll you, I guess is the term. But anyway, send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And my name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place, hopefully. You never know. Same time, same place next week. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,